Good morning, I'm Charlie Redner, and this is the Right Now Show.
And I'm Judy Saxon, and this is a program where we put the emphasis on writing, writers, and the arts.
Hi Judy, how's it going?
Well, fine.
We've been away for a while. What have you been up to?
Well, I finally sent in my first 30 pages of my novel to an editor.
Oh, wow.
Thanks to your urging.
Yes.
And she was wonderful.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Great suggestions.
Really?
I'd never done that before, and finally. Yeah, so it inspires you.
That's great.
And to get somebody else's opinion, fresh eyes, because I think letting friends read it can maybe not be the smartest thing.
Exactly. She's been my editor for 10 years, and I live by her.
She's great.
She is.
And I know you had a busy summer.
I always do with the Aquadads. We put on our 55th show, was it? Or
Great
56th
show. Yeah.
Wasn't it good this year?
It's one of the highlights of my summer. Yeah,
the girls
it was
really
great.
went all out this year. I think it was the best show. I've been involved with it for 5 years, and I think it was the best show they've done.
Yeah,
in that time.
It was good. Well, I am so excited about our
Why?
guest. Well, I have been in a few musicals here. One of the just wonderful, wonderful memories.
Really?
Yes, and the director was Sheila Bialka.
Ah.
And she is so talented and so much fun. I even love the rehearsals.
Oh my goodness.
She can do it all. She acts, she can choreograph, direct, produce. And here she is now. Welcome, Sheila.
Well, welcome to the set.
Thank you for the kind words, Judy. You were always the first at rehearsal.
Oh!
We'd walk in the auditorium, there'd be one person sitting there. It was always Judy with a little bucket hat on.
Oh, yes.
Could always pick her out.
If she wasn't there, you knew she was sick or
Well, I
something
knew there was something wrong with the show if she wasn't there.
That's thing.
And I
That's
always thought, I bet Sheila has had an interesting life, and she has.
Well,
And we're going to learn
some
more
people
about
might think so. I don't think so. I think it's boring.
No,
Oh, no.
I suppose when you're living it, you don't think it's
I
exciting.
agree. A lot of people told me to do mine. I look at my life and say, no, there's nothing there.
All I know is it's gone too fast.
Yes, that's for sure.
Well, for starters, you started tap dancing at 5.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
oh,
who
yeah.
taught you to tap dance?
A lady called Miss Enshaw. We went to Miss Enshaw's dance academy,
Oh,
and we were learning to point our toes, and you know.
5.
And then she had a connection, and she managed to get us into pantomime. I don't know if you know what British pantomime is, but it only happens at Christmas for about 3 weeks. It starts the day after Christmas. And all the famous stars go into pantomime. I mean, Julie Andrews and all the Beatles, everybody goes into pantomime. And it's always based on a fairy story. Cinderella, Jack and the Beanstalk, Puss in Boots, they're all over. So they always have a little kid chorus, because it's for kids, really. And she got us into that. So we tap on the stage, and we do this and that, and then we'd go off. I mean, it was very short and sweet, but it was, something you remember.
And did you love it? Did you love being out there?
Oh, were you kidding? I've never changed.
I love it.
Always been a show-off.
And then from 5 to 7, you were, well, tell us about that.
I was evacuated because it was the wartime. Yeah.
Evacuated from where?
We were evacuated like in 1939 because war had broken out in 39 in England.
Right.
And of course the big worry was, because I lived in Birmingham, which is the industrial centre of England. I mean, 2 miles this way was the Dunlop headquarters and manufacturing. Up the road was the Wolseley, the old Wolseley cars. This way was the golf ball. They made nothing but, we were surrounded with factories. And then of course Coventry, which got bombed to hell. That was only, we stood outside my dad and mum stood outside our air raid shelter and watched Coventry burn. I mean, that's how close Coventry is to where we lived. So it was, Mum was really, they came to the school, or they brought the parents into the school and said, look, we're going to take the whole school away. If you don't want your child to go, fine, you can keep them home, and they'll have I don't know what they did for schooling, but we're going to take the whole school to Repton, near Derby. Now, Repton is a small village where there's a public school, private school.
Yes,
to Americans, public school, very hoi polloi. Boys all wore the bowler hats, and all that. but it was where they shot the original Goodbye Mr. Chips. Remember with Robert Donat?
yeah.
I watched it recently just to see, and I think, yes, I remember that. I remember those buildings, yeah. Yeah, so that's where they took us. And of course, we blotched our copybook as soon as we drove in. We were in big buses, you know, and some of the kids from our school were rough and tough, and they couldn't get over these kids wearing the bowler hats, not the bowlers, the boaters.
Yeah.
And one kid leaned out the window of the bus, grabbed this kid's hat and threw it onto the bus.
Oh my
So we weren't very popular to start.
Well, now you were separated from your parents then when you
Oh
were
yeah, oh yeah.
Wasn't that
absolutely.
hard between
Well,
5
yeah,
and
I
7?
suppose it was because, you know, it depended on where you got billeted, who you got billeted with. I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, they separated my brother and I,
Oh.
which should not have happened. We were
No.
supposed to go together. But because one of the kids who lived up the street from us glommed onto my brother Tommy, they thought they were brothers. And they put them together in a billet. And when my mum came like 2 or 3 weeks later to see us, because the rationing, you know, they couldn't get petrol and that. But she came and she couldn't believe it, where they'd gone to. The husband and wife were sleeping in this end of the bed, and the 2 boys were sleeping in that end of the bed. I mean, they were real country people, you know.
Wow, yeah.
And my mother dragged him out of there. This is not acceptable, you know. So then they put him with the local grocer, because the grocery guy, because, you know, my dad was a greengrocer. He had
okay.
a couple of shops and, you know, fruit, vegetables, poultry, fish. So they put him with the local greengrocer. And he used to do the deliveries on his bike, around the village. Yeah, because Tommy was 3 years older than me. So, but he was supposed to look after me. But of course, because they'd split us up, they put me in a different billet altogether.
Now, how was yours? How did that work?
Well, it's a sad story, but I can't go into it because it's rather crude, you know, what happened. But again, my mum came. My mum, because we were in business, they were able to negotiate, you know, I'll give you 2 eggs if you get me this, and, you know, like I wore clogs that they had in the factories, because Mum was able to get me a pair of clogs. That was later though. But the woman who I was staying with, they did put us together, my brother and I, and he was like a local farm boy. And he used to take my brother out on the horse and cart, and of course my brother loved it. And Mum used to get a lot of outfits knitted, hand knitted for me. And, you know, used to wear the long stockings and they were all hand knitted. And she used to bring them, and then she'd never see me in them. Well, this woman was giving them to her sister for her kids. So they had to move me from there. They moved Tommy. Then they moved Tommy to the greengrocers, and they moved me to another place that had a daughter who was 7 years older than me, and she used to make me get out of bed in the middle of the night and stand in the corner in the cold. Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that vividly. Yeah.
Why?
She just didn't like me. And the first day I was there, the parents were very nice, Mr. and Mrs. Baker. They said, look, if you want to call us Mum and Dad or Auntie and Uncle or whatever you want to call us, you know, it's fine with them. She grabbed me and she said, don't you call them Mum and Dad, they're my Mum and Dad. And I remember looking at her and saying, well, I've got a Mum and Dad. Yeah. You know, why would I want another Mum and Dad? Yes. But she was very nasty to me. Yeah. And then I went to another place. I went with another family, and unfortunately, you know, coming from a family, we'd always had fresh vegetables, fresh food. Oh, sure. They were eating a lot of tinned food, and of course, canning in the early days like that, it wasn't really good. It had some kind of coating on the inside of the tin, and it made me very, very ill. Oh my! So finally, they had to take me home because you know. Anyway, I did have horse riding lessons.
Oh, that was good.
Well, that's the bright side.
That was a highlight.
And by then the bombing was over in England?
Oh, no. I went back to the bombs, back to the air raid shelters, yeah.
Did you?
Down the shelters. You come home from school and you'd go right down the shelter, do your homework in the shelter, and we play passing our fingers through the flame on the candle to see how slow it could go. You know? Stuff like that, yeah. So everybody had an air raid shelter.
Well, what would happen if you were in the classroom and there would be a...
Oh, they had shelters in the school.
Oh, they did?
And we all had a tin of biscuits in the shelter for us. You know, we brought our own from home,
Yeah.
and they were kept in the shelter. Mine were ginger snaps. I'm very fond of ginger snaps
Still?
today. So the sirens would go off, and we'd all pile into these. They had like several on the grounds of the school, and
Yeah.
they were buried in the ground, and you'd go down a few steps, and you'd have, you know, your lessons down there. And then when snack time came, they give you a tin of biscuits. Funny how things stick
Well,
out
now,
in your
was
mind.
it? Do you remember it as being frightening when you heard
No, not really. No, it was kind of interesting in the morning after there'd been a raid the night before, because you'd be at home and people eventually said, "Oh, the hell with it, I'm not going down the shelters anymore. If I'm going to be bombed, I'm going to be bombed."
Really?
Yeah, Mum was a first aid nurse with the St. John's. So as soon as the sirens went off, she had to go up to the local school because that was a place they'd be bringing people in.
Oh.
And this one night there was a bad raid on, and she kept seeing people come who were customers at the shop. And so she stopped one of the guys. She said, "You know, what about the corner? What about Thornton's corner? Is that still intact?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I think so." So she came home like early hours of the morning. The back door was wide open, the gate was open. She came in, there was not a sound, and she thought, "Oh my God, they'd been killed." She went upstairs, she went in the bedroom, and she couldn't see us. But the blast had knocked us out of bed, and we were under the bed. Tommy was
you
under
stayed
his
there?
bed, and I was under my bed. Yeah. And Dad didn't even wake up.
Oh my God.
I mean, you got so used
So
to it.
used to
you got
it.
so used.
Oh
But
my
the
God.
funny thing happened. They said we had to have an incendiary thing in our backyard at the shop because they'd bring an ACAC gun down. And we had a big frontage, and they'd bring the ACAC. The Birmingham race course was up the road. That was all troops up there, barrage balloons. So they'd wheel this damn ACAC gun down onto our front. It would go off, and the whole place would shake. And we'd be in the shelter.
Oh, my
but
goodness.
this particular time, they were issuing these, you know, incendiary, but they dropped these incendiary bombs, which were highly flammable, and we all had to be taught what to do if that happened. So they issued us a bucket of sand and a bucket to put water in, and then there was like a stirrup pump. You put the water in, and somebody, you know, would spray. So we all had a job.
Oh.
Dad issued a job to everybody. He was going to pump. Tommy was going to go get the bucket of water. Mum was going to get the bucket of sand, and I was supposed to hold.
Right.
So the first time it happened, these incendiary things, everybody got panicky. Everybody was trying to do everybody else's job. Dad was yelling.
You needed a rehearsal. You didn't
Like,
do a rehearsal.
Casey's court, honest to God. We were all laughing so hard, you know. But you had to laugh, otherwise you'd cry.
Yes.
So,
Wow.
but going to school in the morning after a bad raid, it was nothing. We'd walk over the bomb buildings, and you'd see a couple of bodies out there. It didn't really. It sort of, you know.
get used to it.
You got used to it,
Yeah.
and it didn't bother you really anymore unless you knew the people who'd been
Yeah,
killed.
yeah.
But we loved it. Up the road, they dropped a big mine up there and knocked down 6 houses. So that cleared it for us kids to go and play. We'd say, "I'll see you on the
Playground.
bomb buildings. I'll see you on the bomb
no.
buildings." Yeah, and we'd build little houses, and we'd. Yeah, so it wasn't unpleasant growing up. You know?
No, obviously not. And you and your brother were in ballroom dancing.
Yeah, we Mum and Dad liked ballroom dancing, so they made us go. Besides tap dancing and everything, we went to do ballroom dancing, and we did some competition work, you know.
Yeah.
But Tommy wasn't as keen on it as I was, you know. He was courting, and you know, he'd like the girls, and
yes.
so it sort of faded until I got to America, really.
How and when did we get you to America?
1953. And I went to Hartford, Connecticut. I had to be sponsored, so I had to go and work as a domestic.
You came
in
home
West
alone.
Hartford.
Really?
You came over alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to West Hartford, Connecticut. Now it all sounded lovely when you went. We went through an agency in London. There was a whole bunch of us girls, and we all did it,
Right.
thinking we'd all be together, which we weren't. So she said in her letter to me, the lady I was going to go live with or serve, you know, I wanted to know where the closest theatres were and the closest,
Right.
of course. So she said, oh, it's 10 minutes away. So I thought, oh, well, that's lovely. We're going to be right in the town, you know. And when I got there, it was 10 minutes if you're in the car, but she wouldn't let me drive. So I had to walk down the road, wait for a bus which I only think ran 3 times a week, and go to this place called Bishop's Corner, and then get another bus into Hartford, Connecticut. Yeah. So I took it upon myself. Being British, you know, if you got any trouble, you always see the police. You always got the police.
Okay.
So I thought that was my day off. So Thursday was your day off. But my day off never started till after breakfast. So if they didn't finish breakfast till 11, I didn't get off till 11. So anyway, I hied myself into Hartford and I went to the police station. And there was a guy behind the counter and he said, yeah, what can I do for you? You know, chewing gum. So I said, well, I'm looking for the British Embassy. Oh, he says, so he pulls out a phone book. What a fool. Pulls out a phone book. He thinks there's a British Embassy in Hartford, Connecticut, which, of course, I didn't know. I thought it's the capital of the state, so they should have a British Embassy. So I'm telling him my tale of woes. What do you want them for? I said, you know, started to say about this woman hadn't kept her end of the bargain, this contract I'd signed. So there was a man standing in back, and he was dressed in civilian clothes, and he said to me, come in my office, I want to hear this story. And he was Captain Hannigan of the Vice Squad.
Oh.
So he took me in his office and he heard my whole story, my tale of woe. He got onto immigration and he said, because she told me if I wanted to leave, I could, as long as I'd paid her back for the fare, which I had, I'd have to get another sponsor. They'd have to earn at least $30,000 a year. I mean, how did I know anybody like that? So she sort of made it almost impossible for me to leave. So he told this to immigration, and immigration said, you tell this young lady slavery was abolished in this country, and there's no such thing as somebody taking over her sponsorship, and they sponsored her, and they're responsible for her. Just tell her not to get in any trouble. So he hung up, and he told me all this, and he said, here's my phone number. If she has anything to ask you, tell her to call me. And he said she hadn't ever better get in trouble here in Hartford, Connecticut. He took their names down, she and her husband, and you know. So I went back and I told her, I said, I'm leaving on Saturday. She said, oh, that's all right, I can get day help. I said, yeah, of course you can. You got to go pick them up at Bishop's Corner, and they don't do windows, they don't do floors. I knew the whole routine by then, you know, because there was a bunch of us girls we used to meet on a Thursday, our days off, and go downtown, you know, together. We'd swap stories. There was one poor girl, they were starving her. We used to have to bring money from,
food?
Not money, food from our houses to give to her.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and they were big jewelers in Hartford. They were big money people. And they wouldn't feed her, wouldn't let her eat. Oh yeah.
I cannot see you as a domestic, Sheila.
Well, it was a way of getting
Yeah,
in.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
It was the only way. I mean, there was no quota on British. You could come into
I
the
see.
country. That was no problem. But you did have to have a sponsor.
and a
And we had to go
sponsor.
to the American Embassy in London and get x-rayed and answer all the questions. Were you ever a hooker, you know, and all that sort of stuff.
The answer to that?
But it was okay because, like I said, there was a whole bunch of us that did it.
Yes.
But one girl went to Maryland, another one went to New Jersey. They didn't send us all in the same.
Yeah,
And that's what we
yeah.
were hoping for, you
Yeah.
see. But that's okay. You know, I survived. I'm a survivor.
Yeah,
I survived being evacuated. I could survive
Yes,
coming
yeah.
to
Yeah.
America. I think that builds you, you know.
It must.
Yeah.
It has to.
Whereas it you know, it didn't, it ruined my brother, you know, being
Did it?
sent away, because as soon as he could come home, they sent him off to boarding school.
Oh.
So it was like rejecting him twice, you know,
Yeah.
and he never really got over that, you know. He was never confident like me. I was always confident.
So how do we get you into your song and dance routines here in America and
Well, you know,
teaching?
it's a long story, long roundabout story. I did a couple of commercials while I was in Hartford, you know, after I moved out. And I was working at E.J. Corvette's.
radio commercials or?
No,
TV commercial?
Visual commercial. And I was in, they shot a show with Meryl Streep in Hartford, Connecticut. It was called the final season or something, and it was all about hockey players, and one hockey player had stabbed the other on the ice with his stick, you know, and the big trial, and I was in the jury and that, and it was quite interesting. And it was Meryl Streep's first TV show.
Oh, really?
And nobody talked to her, you know, she sat there reading a book, you know, very, very isolated, you know, she wouldn't mix with anybody. I suppose, you know, she was nervous. But anyway, that's beside the point. So I was working at EJ Corvettes, and there was a fellow English guy, he ran the ladies department, ladies' coats. I was on the switchboard because I'd learned the switchboard when I was in the Air Force. So I was able to work the switchboard, and I could do the tannoy, calling number 3, number 6, you know. There was a certain code if you wanted the detective to go to a certain place, you had a code that you said. Yeah, because they store detectives walking around.
Yes, I remember.
So because they like the accent. So this guy Peter, he came to me one day and he said to me, "Did you ever do any dancing?" I said, "Yeah, I was a ballroom dancing." And he was a ballroom dancer. He said, "Well, look, everybody here, around here, they all have basements that are finished." And he said, they're all getting, you know, kids that are getting married, and none of them know how to dance, and the bride and groom don't know how to dance. So he said, if I work up a business, he said, would you dance with me? Would you teach with me? I
Wow.
said, absolutely. So that's how it started. And then one day, he's driving along, and he's driving past the Institute of Living, you know, the mental hospital. He didn't know what it was, he knew it was a hospital. So he thought, oh, I'll go in here and see if they need any dancing teachers. So lo and behold, he goes in, and this place was so under the radar. I mean, if you got your name in the paper, even if it was for a good thing, they'd fire you. They wanted no publicity at all. They didn't want anybody to know who was there, because they had so many big, not just stars, but you know, captains of industry. And it was incredible.
Right.
They were one of the 3 best in the world, you know. It was Meningers, Institute of Living, and a clinic in Switzerland.
Wow.
They were the 3 best. Big grounds. It was like a big campus. Like one day I used to teach in this place called the Golf House. It was out in the middle of the campus next to the swimming pool. And one day this kid came running in. I was packing up ready to leave, and he was, where's strike headquarters? I said, what? Where's strike headquarters? He said. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. We had a patient there at the time named Strike. I said, are you looking for Doug Strike? He said, Strike headquarters, you know what I mean. I said, where do you think you are? He said, this is Trinity College, isn't it? I said, no, you're on the wrong hill. You've got to go over the next hill. So he didn't believe me. I said, go outside and ask. I said, this is a mental hospital. Go outside and ask anybody. So he goes running up the road or the pathway, and there were people out walking around, and he stopped, and I could see him gesture, and he goes, oh, he goes running up, because we just did look like a big college campus, the old brownstone, the ivy up the walls. Well, it was it's almost 200 years old now.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, like I say, Peter and I started teaching dancing there. And the first thing they told us was, you have to address everybody by Mr., Mrs. or Miss. You don't call them by their first name. So, oh God, how formal. So the first day I'm teaching a class, and one patient says to me, Sheila, do you know why we've got so many squirrels out there? And I said, no. Did I fall in? He said, it's because we're all nuts. I thought, well, that's it. I'm home here.
Welcome.
So after that, there was no more Mr., Mrs. or Miss. It was first name basis, everybody.
That's great.
Doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, everybody, you know.
Did you do any acting or dancing outside of the schoolwork?
While I was there, I got a theatre thing going for the patients.
Okay.
Some of them had never, ever, I found with mental illness, there was 2 problems. They had no social skills, or very few social skills.
Really?
Right.
They were very confused about religion. Those were the 2 major things that I noticed.
Interesting.
Yeah. So socially, they had to interact with everyone, each other, if they were going to be on the stage.
True.
So during the course of dancing, a lot of the kids, of course, knew me and they liked me. And I said, well, how would you feel about if we did a show here? And this lady who ran the social area, an old British woman, she said, why don't we do an English pantomime? I said, I don't think they'd allow it here. She said, why not? I said, well, you know, like say, take Cinderella, which is the one we did. The ugly sisters have to be men dressed as women. But they had to look like men dressed as women. And then the principal boy, the prince, is played by a girl. And she's always very tall, very elegant, beautiful legs, you know. That's traditional. So I said, they'll never allow it. So we started talking to some of the doctors. Would they let their one doctor said, my patient has enough problem with his sexual identification with that. We can't allow that. So what we did, some of the senior doctors were British. So we went to the senior doctors and we said, could we do it, you know, British? Of course you can. Of course you can. No problem. So
we have to hold up for a second. You know why?
Why?
We haven't gotten there to Laguna Woods yet, and we haven't gotten into anything regarding
I
all of the
know.
clubs
Oh
here.
my God.
But I want to show a clip. There's a clip that I really feel is important to show.
Okay.
Which we'll have to have you back, by the way. But we're going to show a clip. Now I think this might be Charlie Brown. Little section of that.
Yeah, that's the little girl who was just on Channel 6
Let's
on the
watch
news.
it for a second.
Yeah.
Let's watch the whole clip.
We have.
Woodstock, you lost another feather.
Oh, gee.
For a change.
Yeah.
The dressing room is full of them.
Yes, so the whole theater. It's okay. That's all right. It worked. It worked very well. Yeah.
Oh, your flowers match your feathers.
Do you ever get a favorite cast member?
Oh, what a
You don't have to talk about this cast, but I mean...
Look at me.
Occasionally, yeah. Occasionally I get very fond of somebody, yeah. Maybe 2 or 3 people.
Why?
And then it's
What
hard
is it
to-
that they do that makes you buy?
Well, it's just that extra something. It's the, you know, you can't really say what it is. But then they become sort of friends forever. Because, you know, I don't usually make friends with the cast, but some of them are good friends that I've made over the years. It's not just from this show. You know, I've done several shows with people and then you become friendly with them. But usually I'm not sort of part of the cast, so the cast have their own little
They're on a different
things.
team, right?
Yeah, that I don't get involved in, you know. So a lot of them though are friends. A lot of them, there's 2 right there, 3 right there. Yeah.
And now, on with the show!
Down in the audience, strutting and stuff.
We're going to have to
And
bring
then
her back.
I didn't have a copy of that one where you played the maid in Curse You, Jack Dalton.
Curse You, Jack Dalton.
Oh, that was wonderful. It was what do they call them? Those?
A melodrama.
Melodrama.
Yeah.
And we had little, what's his name?
Jack Fallett.
Jack Fallett, a big
Jim Bragg.
Jim Bragg. And Jack Fallett was supposed to wave, and he got on the table to get his finger in Jim Bragg's face.
Yes. Yes.
We have to close the
Oh,
show
this
down.
has flown
we
by,
barely
hasn't
got into. We wanted to talk about
Oh,
the
we're
old
over.
pros.
Is it
and-
over? Okay.
Well, we can go for another half hour, but they'll kick us out anyhow and turn the cameras off.
What fun. What fun.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you, Sheila.
Yeah, okay.
Thank
well,
you so
listen,
much.
I'm glad we got that in.
Yeah, we had to get that
my
in.
debut here. That was a long time
Yes,
ago.
it was.
What do you have for us? Of,
Words to the wise.
Yeah.
Well, talking about dancing today, I have a quote by John Dryden. Dancing is the poetry of the foot.
Oh, and I always think when I have a Brit on, I have to talk about Shakespeare, or I have to talk about the greatest prime minister in the history of the world, Sir Winston Churchill,
Yeah, of
and
course.
he would say something like, "History shall be kind to me, for I shall write it."
Charlie, that's great.
Oh, I do a lot.
didn't know
I do a
you
lot
could
of
do
Sir Winston.
that.
Yeah, I do. I
Wow.
love it.
Yeah, he's a great one to imitate.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah.
We're speaking German without him, in my humble opinion. So
Yeah.
God bless him.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Sheila.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome.
It's
It was
been-
my pleasure. I mean, you couldn't shut me up, could you?
Oh, it was fascinating.
But, you know, I'm old, so I've got a lot of history.
You do have a biography in you.
Yes, you do. Well, thank you for watching. Don't forget the Writers Club, the second Friday, 3 o'clock in Performing Arts Center, Dining Room 1. I'm Judy Saxon. Thanks for watching.
I'm Charlie Redner. See you later.